Alright, so Scream 6 is finally available in theaters. I'm going to be a little bit late to getting my review out for that, but I thought to make up for that, I would review Scream 1 through 5. As the title of this video would suggest, this is a spoiler-free review for 1 through 5, so if you haven't seen any of the Scream films, you are safe. Apologies to those of you who out there who wanted me to talk spoilers about Scream, but I just didn't have enough time to prep all that before Scream 6 came out. There are plenty of channels that do recaps like that. One in particular is Screen Crush, just made a video a couple days ago recapping Scream 1 through 5, so I'd highly recommend checking that video out. Before I get into the individual reviews, let's get into the overview. The Scream franchise was created by Kevin Williamson and of course Wes Craven, who created the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Wes Craven unfortunately passed away back in 2015 at the age of 76. He was able to make 4 Scream films in that time, up until Scream 4 in 2011. For those of you who haven't watched the Scream franchise, you might be wondering, why should I watch it? Well, let me tell you, there are plenty of reasons. One of them being that it's not your average slasher horror film. One of the things that makes these films unique is their meta and self-aware humor. They all very much poke fun at the slasher horror subgenre, and they also know not to take themselves too seriously. Some people can look at the humor in these movies and just see it as cheesy, but you gotta know that it's intentional cheese. The people making the movie are only half serious about it, so you should only take it half seriously. Another big appeal of this franchise is the mystery aspect. Each of these films, as long as you haven't had it spoiled for you or watched it before, the mystery aspect of trying to figure out who Ghostface is one of the most fun aspects of these movies. So yeah, there's a couple reasons to get you interested right there, but one last reason to get interested is the cast. And just to be safe with spoilers, I'll only mention the 3 main cast members throughout this franchise. Those people, of course, being Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. We also have Courtney Cox as Gale Weathers and David Arquette as Dewey Riley. Right from the first film alone, you instantly fall in love with these characters, even if you don't fully trust them, just because the actors in here are so talented and having so much fun. So far, it sounds like I have nothing but good things to say about this franchise, which is not completely the case. So without further ado, let's get into the individual reviews. Starting with Scream 1996, the one that started it all, the one that reinvented the slasher horror subgenre. Out of all the Scream movies, this is the one I've rewatched the most times. I watch it every Halloween. The characters are incredibly entertaining. It's very funny while also being very scary. Honestly, it's a film I have 0 complaints about. And since I have 0 complaints, as well as the fact that I've already reviewed this movie for the channel back around October of last year, I don't have quite as much to add as I do about the other films. One last thing I'll say about Scream 1996, a little fun fact for you, is that the Ghostface costume was actually a costume that existed before the movie. The costume was originally called Father Death, and it was a costume you could buy in party and Halloween stores. I think especially at the time, that's something that kind of added to the horror of this movie for people, is the fact that this was already a pre-existing costume before the movie came out. So it really does make you think it could be anybody.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Going into Scream 2 came out a year later in 1997. I'm not crazy about this movie, but it's not my least favorite Scream movie. It's 2 hours long with credits, and honestly, I don't think the movie needs to be that long. It drags in quite a few areas, but at the same time, there's still quite a few fun story elements that I enjoyed. The Ghostface reveal in this one is a little bit goofy, and certain aspects of it don't completely add up to me, but at the same time, what ensues after the reveal is quite entertaining. Like I said, there's a few aspects throughout the story that I enjoyed, but for the most part, it drags. That ending, though, is what makes this movie worth watching, in my opinion. Moving into Scream 3, released in 2000. I'll say right now, this is the Scream movie I like the least. I don't want to watch this movie again, honestly. I saw some videos on YouTube saying that this one was underrated, but I don't really see the appeal. Out of all the Scream films, this is the only one that really couldn't hold my attention. I still watched the whole movie, but I was not entertained. They have a couple interesting aspects in this movie. The only one I'll really say is that Ghostface in this film can use other people's voices, which I think is really cool. But aside from that, I think they just tried to go a little too crazy with this one. The Ghostface reveal especially is really crazy. Sometimes crazy can be good, but crazy is not good in this sense. The reveal ended up just kind of feeling a little goofy. I think with a lot of these Scream films, the twist, the reveal of Ghostface can either make or break the film. In this sense, it broke a film that was already broken to me. Last thing I'll say about Scream 3 is that they focus way too much on Dewey and Gale, which I don't mind. I love those 2 characters, but in this story in particular, it needed to focus more on Sidney when it really didn't. Moving into Scream 4 from 2011, 11 years after the last Scream sequel. I'm only going to talk about this one for a little bit. I don't want to say too much, because honestly, this is one of the best Scream sequels, if not the best Scream sequel. One of the reasons for that being the reveal in this movie is possibly even better than the reveal in the first movie. Scream 4 does for me what 2 and 3 combined can't even do. It still has that meta and self-aware humor in it. It still has those cheesy moments, but at the same time, this film takes the franchise in a little more serious of a direction. Something about this one just seems a little more gritty, a little more realistic, whereas the other two sequels kind of felt a little bit like a soap opera. Not only is it a fantastic Scream film, but it's also Wes Craven's last Scream film, so it's one to be respected and celebrated. But lastly, Scream 2022. In Scream 2022, we have some new cast members that will be returning in the next film, so I do want to mention those couple of cast members here. In the film, we have Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega as Sam and Tara Carpenter. These two are sisters, and Melissa Barrera is great in the film, but the big standout for me is Jenna Ortega. That's the main reason why I wanted to mention the cast, is just because I wanted to mention how great Jenna Ortega is in this film. She is what you would call a Scream queen. She was born to be in horror movies. She's fantastic in this movie, and I can't wait to see her in the next one. This movie essentially is a reboot of the Scream franchise while still having the returning characters coming in. Since it's a reboot, you can expect things from the first movie to kind of be rehashed in this one. Takes a little bit of a Force Awakens route while still being its own thing. For those of you who don't get the Force Awakens reference, essentially it's a Star Wars sequel that does a lot of the same things that the first movie did. Similar to Scream 4, this one has a much more serious tone. I'm enjoying this direction that they're going in, and I'm excited to see them continue on and evolve this more in the next one. It's the first Scream film without Wes Craven attached. It could have gone one of two ways, good or bad. And honestly, I think this went very good. I mean, come on. Is it as good as the first one? No, of course not. None of them are as good as the first one, in my opinion. The first one is always going to be an S-tier film. But in terms of paying homage and revitalizing this franchise and taking it in new directions, I think this film has a lot to be appreciated. But yeah, there you go. There are my brief reviews on Scream 1 through 5. Not going to be ranking them in this video because I'm most likely going to do a ranking video after I see Scream 6. That being said, I'd still love to see your guys' ranking for Scream 1 through 5 down in the comments below. Please don't spoil anything for the people that watch this video and haven't watched the Scream movies. And on that note, have you not watched any of the Scream movies? Are you planning on watching any of them anytime soon? Why or why not? Comment that down below. Really, any comments you have for me, I'd love to hear from you. And thank you for bearing with me through this video. I know it's a little bit different from the videos I usually make. I'm trying different things out, so yeah. Keep your eyes peeled for my Scream 6 review. Should be coming out in the next day or two, as well as a ranking of these Scream films that should be coming out in the next 2 to 3 days. Do me a favor and leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.